fuck they gotta do? What?
Hey everybody, it's Japanese Tutor, and we're going to go over the Topalov variation in the Sicilian dragon. So this is unlike any other content that I've done, and this is a higher rated course, if you will, more for advanced players who play the dragon. And I also play the dragon, and I thought, okay, why not just show this line? And the book, and I'll leave the link down below, it's Gawain Jones' The Dragon. It's in the first volume. And if you want to do work, go get that book. All right, so we're just going to go right into it. After you like my video, like it now and subscribe. Thanks. Bye. So E4 and C5. Obviously, we're playing the Sicilian. So C4, knight F3, D6, D4. C captures D4, knight captures D4. Knight F6, knight C3, G6. Bishop E3, bishop G7. Obviously, we're playing the dragon, so here it is. F3, castles. Queen D2, knight C6, bishop C4, bishop D7, castles, rook C8, preparing this little trick where if they don't do anything, let's say they play king B1, then we have, let's just play here, king B1, then we have this, and then we play here. And also, if they take with the queen, then just knight G4 and GG. They can't defend everything, right? So don't follow that blind rule that always play king b1 after you castle. There are tricks. So bishop b3. And so the line in question is the knight captures d4 line, bishop captures d4 and b5. So this is called the Topalov variation. It was introduced in 1996 by the future world champion against Short. And Topalov drew that game and only repeated the idea once more, and he lost to Shirov 5 years later. So the idea is that Black has exchanged a pair of knights in order to gain time to advance his queenside pawns. Black's plan is straightforward. He will push his A pawn next and either trap the B3 bishop or open lines toward the White's king. White has two plans. He can play slowly, exchanging the remaining pair of knights and the dark square bishops with the intention of stifling Black's counterplay and exerting pressure on either the E file or with H4, H5. Alternatively, he can leave the bishop to its fate and go straight for the Black's king. Okay, so here is the knight D5. This is the positional approach, and it is also the main line. White trades knights in order to forestall Black's plan of trapping the B3 bishop. The sharp H4 is covered in other lessons, and I recommend getting the book if you do want to get it and do want to get into it. So knight captures d5, bishop captures g7, and it is useful for white to force the Black king to the exposed g7 square. So here, bishop captures is harmless because of just bishop captures, queen captures, and a5. Queen c7 is also good. Okay, so after, we're going to go back into the critical line. After bishop captures g7, and we're just going to go ahead and flip the page. King captures g7. Now, it is worth checking bishop captures d5 and e captures d5, which is, I think, slightly stronger. So the first line, bishop captures d5, a5. So White's bishop is close to being trapped, so he must make an important decision between h4 and a3. So h4. White leaves his bishop to its fate and stakes everything on a kingside attack. e6. Both h5. Both h5 and h6 are playable instead of e6. And there is like a forced draw in the main line. So h5, e captures d5, h captures g6, h captures g6, queen h6, king f6, queen h4. And this forces an immediate draw. This is just repetition. He can't get out of it, and if you try, then GG, you're gonna get mated. He captures d5, king f5, g4, and we can just play through this. And you know, the old reliable dragon giving us a amazing draw. You know, we're forcing the king up. Rook he1. The king has to go somewhere. He has to capture. And rook f1. And he has nowhere to go. He has to go here. And then finally, checkmate. So yeah, you have to take the draw in this line. If you want to avoid the draw, then you want to play h5 instead. But you know, if I get into this position with Magnus Carlsen, I'm gonna take a draw. Take the draw. So that's actually quite interesting. So now we have to go over another move order, and instead of h4, what if a3, saying, hey, I want to save my bishop. a3, queen c7, exerting pressure on the c2 pawn. h4. And now if you again follow the notion of some people saying, hey, play king b1, we can't afford this because of b4. A captures b4, a captures b4, bishop b3. And now we just win. Just like queen a5 stuff, and this is just really, really good for us. Queen a5, queen d4. If we just can play f6. They have no dark square stuff, and their bishop is great, but it doesn't have a partner, which is awesome, like a knight or something to get inside. And we're just gonna play here, and block is just a bit better. Let's say here, bishop a4, trying to weaken the pawn structure as well. Bishop c4, rook c5, and our plan is underway. You know, so some tough stuff here. Queen a1, and obviously we don't really want to trade here. We can just play here. Queen c7, we can play queen b6. I think queen b6 is a stronger option. So yeah, don't play king b1 in every situation if you're queenside castled. That was the point of that. Okay, so queen c7 and h4. So after h4, b4. I think I already played there. Yeah. Bishop b. Oops, okay. It's like this, sorry. So h4 and b4. This is the most forcing continuation. And if a captures b4, a captures b4, bishop b3, queen a5, queen d4, and this is the exact stuff I gave over. Oh, he says e5, queen d6, and after queen captures d6, rook d8, and he said that the mating net is formed. Well, maybe not even here. Let's see. Bishop c6 first. Queen e7. Rook c to e8. Queen g5. And now rook d8. Fair enough. I like that. All right, so let's go back. And now we're going to see what happens after, instead of bishop captures on d5, what happens after e captures on d5. So this capture is the only way to put pressure on black, and it seems counterintuitive to block the bishop, but white can try to generate play down the e file. You know what can generate play down the e file? Liking and subbing to the channel right now. Thanks. So then after that, we're gonna play a5, a3. So Should you not wish to sacrifice a pawn, queen b6 is a possibility, which has been seen a lot in correspondence games. However, I think white can claim an advantage if he is accurate. For that reason, king g8. Thank you for following. Thank you. So after king g8, and this is his recommendation, this move is not considered in Davila's repertoire book, but we're gonna go over it. So queen b6. Oh, so we're gonna go over the queen b6 line instead. Queen b6, rook he1. Rook f to e8, protecting the pawn. g4. So they assess the situation as clearly better for white. I do not believe in black's position is that bad, but it is true that he is struggling for counterplay and it's hard to achieve anything on the queen side. So black usually tries to fight back on the king side with a timely f5. Rook b8. It looks odd to move the rook off of the semi-open c file, but now we're threatening to break on the b file. So then after that, rook e4 is a really strong move. f5. And then rook d4. And the position is slightly better for white. So what they recommend in the book instead is instead of queen b6, that we play king g8. This line became popular after Shirov used it to easily hold carjacking in 2009. Okay, so we're gonna go over some moves, and we're just gonna go over one of the main continuations. What if they play g4 here? Controlling the f5 square is generally a useful thing for white, but with king's opposite flanks, he never has enough time. Okay, so b4, a captures b4, a captures b4, queen captures b4, rook b8, queen d4, and now queen a5, getting back into some of the stuff. And this is getting kind of heated. Rook h to e1. Rook b4. Queen e3. Rook c8. Pinning now the bishop. And also, sorry, pinning the pawn so we can try to take the bishop in some lines. So after rook c8, king b1. Bishop b5. c4. And then bishop a4, and it is GG at this point. Instead of being distracted by a meaningless pawn, black goes straight for the white king and wins at once. Bishop captures. Queen captures a4. Queen c3. Rook a8. And it's GG. There's no way to stop a queen invasion. What can you try? What can you really realistically try? Let's see. Say rook here, right? It doesn't matter because queen a2, you know, and we're winning because of captures on c4. Let's say we want to play rook d4 instead. So we're going to protect the c4 pawn. Now rook b3. Queen has to go somewhere. Let's say the queen goes to d2. Now the queen can just go to a1, and it is mate in a few. You can play queen captures b2. You can also play here. King d3, rook captures d2, captures on d2, and queen captures d4. King goes somewhere. Let's just say c1. Rook a2, and we have bunch of mates. So yeah, GG. And that's where this video ends. Thank you for sticking around to the end, and hopefully you learned something, and hopefully you can take this and use it in your games. So I appreciate it. and I'll